In February 2021, 4 million people in Texas lost running water overnight. Some of them waited 3 days in line for a single case of bottles. Their neighbors, the ones who knew one simple thing, never left the house. Not because they were rich, not because they had expensive gear, because they knew something that takes less than a weekend to set up and costs less than a fast food meal. That is what this video is about. And if you stay until the end, you will never look at a glass of water the same way again. Right now, in garages and basements across this country, there are veterans who could take the water from a ditch on the side of the road and make it safe to drink before sundown. They are not doing it with expensive filter systems. They are not doing it with gear from some online survival store. They are doing it with things you can buy at any hardware store for under $20. And most of them learned how to do it not from a YouTube channel, but from a field manual. The U.S. Army Survival Manual, FM 21-276, has been publicly available since 1970. It dedicates an entire chapter to water procurement and purification in the field. It explains exactly how to source water, how to filter it, and how to make it safe to drink using minimal resources in any environment on Earth. Almost nobody outside of the military has ever read it. Not because it is classified, not because the government hid it, because nobody told you it existed. That is the gap this video closes today. Now, before we get into the method, I want to be honest with you about something, because you deserve that. FEMA does publish emergency water guidance. The CDC recommends bleach for emergency disinfection. The EPA has documents on it. None of this information is secret. What is missing from every single piece of official guidance is the complete system, the layered approach that field-trained veterans actually use. They tell you what to do in one sentence, buried inside a PDF. They do not tell you how to do it in a way that a regular person can actually act on. This weekend, with materials from their local hardware store, for under $20. That is the difference between being told to prepare and being taught how. So let me teach you how. The method that veterans use is not one thing. It is a system built in layers, and each layer does a different job. The first layer, and the one that most people completely miss, is filtration. Before you disinfect water, you have to filter it. Bleach and chemical disinfectants kill what is alive in the water. They do nothing for what was never alive. The lead from old corroded pipes, the pesticides from agricultural runoff, the sediment, the rust, the heavy metals that have nothing to do with bacteria. If you skip filtration and go straight to disinfection, you are killing the biology but drinking the chemistry. Veterans never make that mistake. Here is how to build the filter. You need 2 5-gallon food-grade plastic buckets. You can find them new at any hardware store for about $6 each. You drill a small hole near the bottom of the lower bucket and install a plastic spigot, the kind they sell for sun tea jars for about $3. Then you stack the upper bucket on top of the lower one with a series of small holes drilled in the bottom of the upper bucket. The upper bucket is your filter chamber. The lower bucket is your clean water reservoir. Inside the upper bucket, you build 4 layers of filtering material, starting from the bottom and working up. The first layer at the very bottom is 2 to 3 inches of gravel or crushed limestone. This supports everything above it and gently raises the pH of the water, removing the acidic edge that contaminated water often carries. The second layer is 4 inches of activated charcoal, also called biochar, made from hardwood. This is the layer that does the real work. Activated charcoal removes chlorine, pesticides, organic chemicals, and most heavy metals at a molecular level. The porous structure of charcoal physically traps contaminants as water passes through it. Researchers at Marquette University were still studying this technology as recently as 2023. Indigenous farmers in the Amazon basin have been using it for thousands of years. You can buy a bag of activated charcoal at any hardware store or pet supply store for about $8. The third layer is 4 inches of fine sand. Fine sand catches the suspended particles and silt that the charcoal layer does not trap, the things you cannot see but that are floating in the water. The fourth and final layer, at the very top, is 3 inches of coarse sand. Coarse sand traps the visible debris, the sediment, the grit, the particles large enough to see with the naked eye. Water enters from the top and exits through the spigot at the bottom of the lower bucket. Gravity does all the work. No electricity, no moving parts. No filters to replace every 3 months at $30 each. The flow rate is slow, about 1 gallon every 20 minutes. That sounds slow until you realize that a family of 4 needs roughly 2 gallons per day for drinking and cooking. You set it up in the morning and you have clean filtered water before lunch. Now here is the part that most survival guides get completely wrong, and it is the reason most DIY filters fail within the first month. The source, water matters. When rain or runoff first hits, a surface, a roof, a road, a hillside, it picks up everything that has accumulated there since the last storm. Bird droppings, dust, pollen, chemical residue from vehicles or agriculture. The first water off any surface is the dirtiest water you will ever collect. Veterans and off-grid communities solve this with something called a first flush diverter. It is nothing more than a vertical pipe attached to your collection point with a small valve at the bottom. When water starts flowing, it fills the vertical pipe first. Only after that pipe is full does the water overflow into your filter system. Once collection stops, you open the valve and dump the dirty first flush water onto the ground. The system resets automatically for the next rain event. You can build a first flush diverter from 4-inch PVC pipe for about $8 in materials. It lasts 20 years. It does more for the quality of your collected water than any other single step in the system. And almost nobody outside of veterans and serious preppers knows it exists because nobody is selling it. Now your water has been filtered through 4 layers. The visible debris is gone. The sediment is gone. The chemicals and heavy metals have been dramatically reduced, but the biology is still there. Bacteria, viruses, waterborne pathogens that can kill a healthy adult in 72 hours. This is where the second layer of the system comes in, and this is the part that costs $2. Unscented household bleach, the kind you can buy at any grocery store in America for about $2 a bottle. 2 to 4 drops per liter of filtered water. Stir it. Wait 30 minutes. If the water still smells faintly of chlorine after 30 minutes, it is safe to drink. If it does not smell of chlorine at all, add 2 more drops and wait another 30 minutes. That is the entire chemical disinfection method. It is not a secret. It is not hidden. It is on the CDC website, buried in a page that almost nobody reads. But here's what the CDC page does not tell you. There is a version of this method that costs $4 and can purify 10,000 gallons of water. It is called calcium hypochlorite, and it is sold at pool supply stores under the name Pool Shock. 1 pound of calcium hypochlorite, a bag about the size of your fist, will treat enough water to supply a family of 4 for over 13 years. The shelf life of properly stored Pool Shock is over 10 years. Compare that to liquid bleach, which loses potency after about 12 months. Veterans who are serious about long-term water preparedness do not stockpile bleach. They stockpile Pool Shock. To use it, you make a stock solution first. 1 heaping teaspoon of Pool Shock dissolved in 2 gallons of water creates a concentrated liquid chlorine solution. You never drink the stock solution. You use 1 part stock solution for every 100 parts of water you want to purify. For a 1-gallon container, that is roughly 1.5 tablespoons of stock solution. Mix it in, wait 30 minutes, check for the chlorine smell, and your water is safe. Now, let me tell you about the third layer, the one that requires nothing you have to buy and no chemicals at all. It is called solar disinfection, and the U.S. Military Field Manual references it as a no-resource fallback when chemical supplies are exhausted. You take your filtered and chemically treated water and you pour it into clear glass bottles or clear PET plastic bottles. The bottles must be completely full with no air gap. You cap them tightly and lay them on their side on a piece of corrugated metal roofing or any reflective surface. You leave them in direct sunlight for 6 to 8 hours. The ultraviolet radiation from the sun penetrates the glass and the water and destroys any remaining microorganisms at the molecular level. The corrugated metal doubles the UV exposure on the underside of the bottles by acting as a reflector. The World Health Organization studied this method in the early 2000s and formally confirmed that it works. They recommended it for communities without access to municipal water treatment. The U.S. military has known about it for decades. It costs nothing. It requires only sunlight and a bottle you already own. And the reason you have never heard about it from a major brand or a big box store is simple. There is no patent on sunlight. Nobody can sell it to you, so nobody talks about it. Here is what you now have. A 3-layer water purification system that field-trained veterans actually use. Layer 1. A gravity filter built from 2 5-gallon buckets and $20 in hardware store materials that removes physical contaminants, chemicals, and heavy metals. Layer 2. Calcium hypochlorite, or unscented bleach that kills every bacteria and virus that survive the filter. Layer 3. Solar disinfection as a backup or finishing method that requires 0 supplies and 0 cost. Combined, these 3 layers give you water that independent lab tests have shown reduces chlorine by over 95%, reduces lead by over 80%, and reduces agricultural pesticide residue by over 70%. Most under-sink reverse osmosis systems that cost $300 do not perform that well, and the total cost of this system is under $25 for everything built in a single weekend, installed in any basement, garage, or utility closet without touching your existing plumbing and without a single permit. This is what veterans know that most civilians have never been taught. Not because the information was hidden from you, because nobody took the time to put it all together in one place and hand it to you the way a father hands something important to his son. You are prepared enough to watch a video like this one. You are serious enough to take notes, and that already puts you ahead of 4 million people in Texas who had no idea what was coming. Here is what I want you to do this week. Not someday, not when things get bad. This week, go to a pool supply store and buy 1 pound of calcium hypochlorite pool shock. Pick up 2 5-gallon food-grade buckets from any hardware store. Buy 1 bag of activated charcoal from the pet or hardware section. That is it. Under $25. That is the start of a water system that will outlast anything the next decade can throw at you. Now I want to ask you something specific, and I want you to answer in the comments. Before you watched this video, did you know that pool shock could purify 10,000 gallons of water? Yes or no? That one piece of information is the difference between being dependent on a grocery store shelf and being the person your neighborhood turns to when the shelves are empty. Leave your answer below. I read every one. If this gave you something real, subscribe to this channel. Next week, I am going to show you what veterans stockpile for long-term food security. Not freeze-dried pouches, not MRE kits. The same cheap, shelf-stable foods that have fed soldiers through every major conflict in American history and are sitting right now in the grocery store aisle you walk past every week. Until then, go build the system. The information is in your hands now. Use it.